Hello, Grizzlies. This is Dr. Carl Robinson, C-Rob to my friends. I wanted to shoot a short video introducing you to English 236 short story. I'm coming to you from like a coach's room in my high school, like however the kids do it, Woodbury Forest. A little bit about my bio. I grew up in Madison County, right on the Orange Line, right on the Rapidan River. And I go hiking on the Rapidan River just about every day. I went to Woodbury Forest for high school, had to wear a coat and tie every day. It was a prep school. Maybe that's why I have long hair and a beard now, act like a professional wrestler. I went to Randolph-Macon College in Ashland for undergrad. I loved it every day in every way. Highly recommend it. Maybe there's a joke there. For my master's, I went to Virginia Tech, made a lot of good friends, went hiking, fishing, camping a lot. For my PhD, I went to Kent State in Ohio, did some stand-up comedy, mainly in Cleveland, a couple times in Detroit, Michigan. And my dissertation was on the language of ring sport, professional wrestling, professional boxing, like what kind of fan likes wrestling, theater, pop culture, what kind of fan likes boxing, like men who want to fight and kill something. So I kind of compared the fans and the language. I was teaching at Odessa College in Texas when my dad passed away, so I had to move home to take care of my mom. She's 85, has dementia. It's getting a little worse every day. The main thing she likes to do is call the police. She's called the police on me 15 times since I've been home. At my college reunion, one time when I was having like minor eye surgery. So I always have my phone, and I might be getting a little more nervous. I don't know. I'll have to ask River, who's in the class. But anyway, I wanted to go over the format of the class. Usually I spend 3 weeks on each module. Usually has 2 authors. First week I go over the first author. Second week I go over the second author. The third week we do group work, and then we watch a movie. I usually bring in some food, ask a trivia question. And in terms of the papers, your first assignment, which is always due on a Saturday night, is a 500-word homework assignment. It'll be 10 or 12 questions. You pick the question you like the best. Then you will read my comments, critique, tweak a little, turn it back into me. Your second assignment is a 1,000-word rough draft. I make comments, you read my comments, you revise. And then the third Saturday night, you have a 2,500-word paper due. And again, you get to pick which author you prefer. So we'll do another module like that. In March, there's a midterm that has essay questions that you will have seen before. We'll do a study guide. I don't think you'll think that's hard. March is also spring break. So maybe you could go to Dollywood or something. Then the next module, then the module after that, and then there's a final exam at the end, same format. You can take both the midterm and the final. You can either come to class and have me tell stories, or you can take it at home in your pajamas, watch The View. But anyway, I don't think you'll think the tests are hard, essay questions, and the paper assignments, 500-word homework, 1,000-word draft, 2,500-word paper. In terms of what we're reading, the first module will be John Updike and Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Updike's A&P was written in 1960. There's an 18-year-old kid working in a grocery store, and these 3 girls come in their bikinis. He likes them. The manager comes over, scolds them, says, you have to be decent, you have to be clean. And Sammy quits his job in protest so the girls will like him, but then they don't really notice. It says a lot about 1960s culture, 1950s nuclear family, moving on to like 1960s hippies. So it marks a time in American history. My parents were married in 1961, so it kind of means something to me too. But it also says stuff about consumer culture. It says something about maybe the male mindset. And like Sammy is kind of sexist, a little bit misogynistic. And also freedom of the dress. Like, why can't you wear your bathing suit into like Walmart, into Dunkin' Donuts? I don't, but why can't you? But it's a little bit like that. It's kind of hip and modern. I think you'll like that essay. The second reading is Charlotte Perkins Gilman, 1870. She's kind of a militant feminist, but she has a baby, and then her husband, who's a medical doctor, and like another doctor, decides she's having postpartum depression, and they say she should just stay in a room and rest. So she stays in the bedroom all day long and just rests, but slowly but surely she goes crazy. I don't want to spoil the plot, but like she sees tigers in the wall, and it gets amped up more and more. It's kind of a feminist reading of what was available for women in the 1870s. Like a woman in the 1870s couldn't be a doctor, couldn't be a lawyer. She kind of just had to marry a rich guy. So hopefully you'll like that. It's a good psychological thriller too. After Gilman and Updike, we move on to Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway is pretty famous. Hills Like White Elephants. There's a couple sitting in a bar in Spain and they're arguing. He never really says what they're arguing about, but most people think it's about abortion. I didn't want to spoil it for you, but the man wants the woman to have abortion and the woman doesn't want to. There's also something called a Hemingway code hero, like how a man is supposed to act. Men don't cry, men fight, men drink, men have, dozens of girlfriends. So we'll talk about that, like kind of like the idea of like the perfect American male from 1925 through 2025. After Hemingway, we do William Faulkner, A Rose for Emily. They were friends, contemporaries, hung out in Paris together. But Rose for Emily is about a spinster lady in Mississippi in the 1930s. Same kind of thing as Gilman, rich family, but she never gets married and she's obliged to stay at home all day. Eventually, she gets a boyfriend, but he disappears. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you, but there's some feminism there, what women can be. There's a little bit about Southern Civil War culture, how the 1930s small town judges Miss Emily, kind of looks the other way, whatever she does. Sometimes we'll talk about racism too, how maybe you teach racism in 2026. But I think it's important in Fredericksburg because a lot of the tourism around here has to do with the Civil War. So it's kind of about life in a small southern town for a spinster lady. After Faulkner, we do Edgar Allan Poe. I would imagine you read Edgar Allan Poe in high school. We're doing 3 stories. Cask of Amontillado, which is about revenge. Telltale Heart. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the narrator kills his benefactor for no real reason. And then The Raven. The Raven's kind of about lost love. There's a guy like creepy Halloween night mourning his lost love. For me, the key for Poe is an unreliable narrator. Usually we read a story, it's A to B to C, linear. Don't smoke cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes is bad. And we get the lesson. But when the narrator's crazy, when the narrator's a murderer, we don't necessarily know what to do. And like the impetus kind of goes with the reader. Maybe some of you don't like it. You'd rather it just be A to B to C. Some people like to be more involved in the reading process. Like the reader has to solve the crime. The reader has to figure out what's wrong with the narrator. And then I went and checked if poetry was officially short stories, and they are. I very much like, probably my favorite thing to teach is sports literature, because that was my specialty. But teaching poetry, like you walk into class, maybe you haven't done the assignment, I call on you, you're all scared, like C-Rob's going to call on me, I didn't read the 20-page assignment. When you're reading poetry, you can just turn to page 58 and do it. So our last two readings are the poetry of Langston Hughes and Emily Dickinson. Langston Hughes was kind of a middle class, upper middle class African-American writer from the 1920s through the 1960s. A lot of what we think about protest literature, segregation, Harlem Renaissance comes from Langston Hughes. And there was a period in African-American history, in American history, 1920s, 1930s, when like being black was celebrated. Black was beautiful. So he sort of charts the 20th century being middle-class African-American. I think that's significant too. He writes about low art. Instead of high art, low art is what the people in the streets are doing. Whether they're drinking, graffiti, drugs, it's low art of the people. And that was kind of refreshing in the 1920s. Emily Dickinson kind of fits with Gilman and Faulkner. 1870s Massachusetts. Her father is rich, deeply religious, won't let Emily leave the house. She does go to college, but her adult life, she's stuck in the house by herself, like a 55-year-old virgin. And she's so bored. Sometimes she writes poetry that death is a suitor. She hates her life so much. She's so bored. She wishes death would come and be her boyfriend. Or there's a poem called I Heard a Fly Buzz When I Died. She's so bored day after day, year after year, sitting in her house that she writes a poem about a fly that would buzz by on the day she dies. So it's a little bit kind of gothic, twisted. I don't know if you like poetry, but I think you'll like Langston Hughes and Emily Dickinson. So anyway, I think that's all I have. I'll see you January 21st in room 302, 2 p.m. in the Wilderness. See ya.